What is going on, guys? Spud here, and welcome to episode 53 of the Roundup. I'm not gonna lie, I should have done this last week because the amount of ROSTERMANIA news is crazy. I've never seen a ROSTERMANIA like this. Genuinely, I don't know how long this episode's gonna be. I'm not gonna go overboard, obviously, because it is just an off-season episode, but I've had to do it now and just round up all the ROSTERMANIA. Now, there hasn't actually been anything else in the last week, so it is all pretty old stuff, but I will probably have forgotten some stuff as well. But I am shocked by what we've seen. So in this episode, obviously, we're going to be talking about the WrestleMania. The main stuff is obviously CELLIUM and FaZe. CELLIUM and ABEZY are no longer on FaZe. Draza could be, we don't know. FaZe have the trio have split, and CELLIUM had an offer from LA Thieves, but is instead going to be joining the Vegas Falcons, most surprisingly, and getting a huge amount of money next year. I think that sounds like it should be the biggest thing, but we have to talk about the Real stuff because that is genuinely some of the craziest WrestleMania stuff I've ever seen regarding Real, Heretics, and Koi, which we'll get into very shortly. I'm gonna try and do it in like an order, like a chronological order of events, but like I said, there will be things that I have missed. Do like this episode if you do enjoy it. I'm gonna be honest, there probably won't be one for a while after this. The Black Ops 7 stuff just came out, I didn't even watch it. Um, but we're here for WrestleMania. I'm uploading this on the same day. It's Wednesday day, yeah? Why am I talking to myself like that? Yeah, it's Wednesday. So we're out in a few hours, but obviously I've got the time now to do it, so I thought we would just get this done. Make sure to like if you do enjoy this episode as well, please. And like I said, we have a lot to talk about. Obviously, we've put CELLIUM on a Falcons thumbnail. I was going to do Real with Koi, but the first thing that we're going to talk about is FaZe, so I thought that also works quite well. So, after EWC happens, obviously, CELLIUM puts out a free agent tweet. Now, this is the exact same day I went on holiday, so obviously there was no chance I could cover it. Um, but CELLIUM is a free agent, and yeah, the end of an era with FaZe for CELLIUM. He obviously did win a ring. He won an EWC event as well. Won many majors, many MVPs. Very, very good player of Call of Duty. But it's time for a change for him, and hopefully it'll work out his way. Um, And yeah, I think in the individuals terms, I think CELLIUM being a free agent was probably the biggest ROSTERMANIA news. Obviously, there was going to be loads of teams, bar maybe like Optic, that probably would want, and obviously FaZe themselves that would probably want CELLIUM. So CELLIUM's signature was obviously going to be hard to get in during ROSTERMANIA, but obviously CELLIUM, that was the big news that he was a free agent, and yeah. Like I said, I've definitely things I've forgotten, but loads of teams and players are now free agents, which is kind of always expected with the lower teams. Rocker have squad wiped. Um, actually, wait, no, Estriel. I don't know if Estriel's a free agent or not. Like, even the Heretics players are free agents, a couple of them, which obviously we're going to talk about Real situation, but like Metals is obviously expected to rejoin. Um, a lot of teams. I think Boston, except Snoopy, maybe a free agent. I honestly, I no, I don't know all the situations because I've kind of been out of the loop. But obviously the big stuff I know about. I've just went and bookmarked quite a few things here to try and find. But yeah, so Rocker squad wipe. Rocker genuinely need to have some crazy fucking year. I can't see it. I just think they're genuinely a cursed organisation, G2 at the moment in esports. Um, I don't know what they're going to do next year. I don't know if Estrel is a free agent or not. I definitely see a situation where all of these players are going to be in the league next year. I mean, we're going to talk Kenny soon because the news coming out of for Kenny's next team is fucking crazy, to be honest. And then we talk about another FaZe member, and it is ABEZY, and he is a restricted free agent. So if you want to have ABEZY on your team next year, you will have to pay a little bit of money. And again, I think Optic obviously won't be bringing him in because they've got Optic obviously have got Shotzi and Hugh, and I don't think they're going to change after winning champs and EWC because that would be stupid. But ABEZY obviously didn't have the best of years, in my opinion. I was shocked that he was in the second team, All-Star second team. Honestly, I was genuinely couldn't believe it. But again, I think he's a player that will make many teams better. And he brings a winning mentality. As well, regarding FaZe, I will say this now because I didn't get this bit, but Draza was also an unrestricted free agent. Simp is staying on FaZe, and we'll find out who his new teammates are going to be very shortly. But we're going to talk about the Thieves situation because Ghosty was made a free agent. They wanted to upgrade on their AR. There was talk that they were going to try and get a Boozer, and some people were like, well, is a Boozer actually an upgrade on Ghosty? Statistically, maybe not in some departments, others yes. But obviously, a Boozer is a good player. He had a very good year for Vancouver Surge, so I could completely understand why they'd go for him. But then obviously the CELLIUM stuff came along, and they've obviously tried to make their super team more of a super team, but one that can actually perform at Champs and EWC. And they've gone and made an offer for CELLIUM, which obviously would be CELLIUM. This would be the team at the time. I don't think Envoy was actually announced as an unrestricted free agent at this time, so it would have been Scrap, CELLIUM, Envoy, and Hydra. Obviously, we'll talk about Envoy's situation as well. After I've had a drink of very flat Diet Coke from yesterday. But it's nice, spice in it. Obviously, this would be a big offer for CELLIUM. He'd be on a very good team. You know, I think him and Scrap would be one of the best AR duos statistically in Call of Duty history. And they made the offer quite early after it was announced he was a free agent. So it gives time for everything to be sorted, you know, if he wants to join, etc., etc. You know, it's obviously for a player that, you know, of CELLIUM's mentality, you would expect him to have taken the offer straight away. Things can happen in Call of Duty and just in sports, esports, whatever. So, then it comes out that FaZe are targeting the duo of O4 and ABEZY for Black Ops 7. Obviously, two very good players for Vancouver Surge last year. But obviously, it is a downgrade on ABEZY and CELLIUM. Absolutely, it is. But maybe FaZe just need. Maybe they don't have the finances as well to pay all the players. But I think FaZe in general needed a new team, not just a new fourth. I would say, in my opinion, the Tiny Terrors, CDL, Reign, they've won so many events. They've placed top 2, top 3 in so many events. But to have only won one ring, I think is seen as a disappointment. Obviously, they've won, obviously, like, Simp and ABEZY won with a United in CWL. I'm obviously not saying that they've only won one ring. You know, obviously I know what I'm talking about. But obviously, O4 and ABEZY are silver surges, you know. They got to how many fucking grand finals last year? Minor 2, Major 3, Major 4, Champs, EWC, 5 finals, 5 second place finishes. And 3 of them they got absolutely smoked. So, yeah. I think that O4 and ABEZY deserve to be on a team like FaZe. I think they've shown that they can do it, but let's just see what happens. I want to talk about Hixie as well. I'm disappointed, but I think he knew that he probably wouldn't get onto a team next year. He got to a Champs Grand Final in his rookie year. He won an event in his first event. He won Major 3. I would say he had a successful stint on Toronto Ultra. Yeah, the Surge stint didn't go to plan. But then he also did okay at EWC for 5 years. I'm disappointed, but I do wish him all the best because he seems like a really nice guy, to be fair. And he got the experience to play against other players across the world, and I think that's an amazing thing. And you obviously you what the hell happened there? um, obviously you get to like meet loads of people, make friends. That's the thing. Like with these sort of things, it's not just about earning money; it's about the people you meet on the way. I know it sounds like such a cliche thing to say, but I'm being honest. You know. Now we're going to talk about the Joe Deceive situation because there's so much to talk about. Like I said, the Joe Deceive situation. So FaZe were looking at Joe Deceives. I think LA Thieves were looking at Joe Deceives to replace Envoy. Envoy is a restricted free agent. Um, no, unrestricted or restricted. I've got it down here. You'll find that out later. But also, Gentlemates were looking at draw because like Gentlemates is another team that have had a full squad wipe. Loads of these lower teams have, as you'd expect. But Joe is not for sale or for trade. Um, Adamu, who is the CEO of Toronto Ultra, he's basically said that's not happening. People are obviously pissed at him for that, saying like, "Oh, free Joe," stuff like that. But I think they're building a good roster here, based on. Well, we actually don't know too much what's happening with Ultra, but we do want to also talk about Abe. So Abe, if you don't know who Abe is, you probably didn't watch EWC. He was basically the new player that Toronto Ultra brought in to replace Beans, and he did okay. He did pretty okay at the event. He is a restricted free agent. However, this is a different sort of restricted free agent. It's a really massive credit to Adam here for what he's done. So Abe is a restricted free agent, so he'll be signed to Toronto Ultra because they want to keep him in the long term anyway. But if a team wants to acquire his services and he wants to go, they will not ask for a fee. So they're basically just protecting his value by having him on a roster regardless. But obviously, it's very likely that he will not be starting on Toronto Ultra next year. He could just be the sub. But I do think that is a really nice thing to do. Because he played well. I think he deserves a chance to be in the main league based off what I saw at AWC for Koi. Now, also regarding Toronto Ultra, I asked Ronnie Intel, who obviously is one of the main. He's like the main leaker for Call of Duty, like CDL Insider stuff. I did ask him if Toronto are going to be Toronto Ultra next year, or will it be Toronto Koi? And he has said that Koi is most likely at this point, which I think will also have more of an intense rivalry with Heretics, because obviously those two organisations in Spain hate each other. And as well, Adam wants to do another event in Spain, I believe. But one in Toronto as well. So, now we talk about more CELLIUM stuff, as CELLIUM is expected to sign with the Vegas Falcons. Now, we don't know how much he's getting. There's rumours of he's going to get a $700,000 salary. There was rumours where he's getting $2 million salary. We don't know how much he's getting, but he's going to be getting a lot of money. And I'm not expecting him to be challenging for any championships, but he's going to get paid well. He's already got an amazing COD career, so I say for him to go for it for a year, see what happens. If it doesn't work out, I'm sure people will still want to take him on next year for less of a salary. But that is a big move for Falcons. And you could argue that Pred was their first big acquisition in the CDL since joining, but getting CELLIUM is massive because CELLIUM is one of the best ARs to play Call of Duty in the CDL era. So to get him on their team is massive. Obviously, we're going to talk about their fourth situation because there's been a couple of people that have tried to target. Pred and Exnid will be staying on the roster. They obviously want to keep that Saudi talent in the league of Exnid, which I completely understand. And I think him and Pred is a good team of two as well. But I can't say duo because sub-duo because that could potentially be what changes, which we'll talk about. But CELLIUM to Falcons is an interesting one, and I expected Falcons to make a few moves in ROSTERMANIA. They needed two new players at least. I was expecting them to keep Pred and Exnid, especially Pred, but I think they did need two players, most likely to acquire CELLIUM is good stuff. But they weren't done. They have tried to target Scrap from the LA Thieves. Now, I've heard that there was a big offer apparently offered to Nadeshot and LA Thieves, and they turned it down. Scrap doesn't want to join Falcons either. He's really happy on the Thieves roster. But if they had CELLIUM, Scrap, Pred, and Exnid, yeah, that would be... If Pred was playing good, I do think that would be a team that would do very, very good next year, and they would be winning at least one event. But I think Scrap would rather play with Hydra, to be honest, and I can completely understand that. Hydra is probably the best SMG in the game. Last year, I would say it was probably Hydra last year. Across the regular season, obviously, if you want to bring in Champ CWC, you can also argue Shotzi, but it was Hydra for me. And I think that Scrap wants to win rather than getting loads of money, which I can completely understand. And I'm assuming he's getting paid very nicely anyway on the Thieves roster. But as we talk about Envoy, he is an unrestricted free agent for the BO7 season. Wasn't his best season. I think the amount of times he called out challengers players just for Mercules to get Champs MVP on his head, stuff like this. I think Envoy's stocks have genuinely dropped a bit. He had some good moments on the Steve's roster, don't get me wrong. But I think how he played at, was it EWC? Where he dropped like a point 0.6? Nah. He got very lucky, in my opinion, to even be on this roster in the first place. Because he had a very underwhelming season with Toronto Ultra in 2024. But I think he will. I actually don't know if there's been any Envoy news yet. Oh wait, actually there might have been regarding Gentle. I've got the Gentlemates roster that's coming up, and it is really good. But so another player that we're going to talk about actually is Neptune. So there's been a lot of drama regarding not a lot, but a bit of drama regarding Neptune. So there's a rumor going around that he was. So he's not really been linked with many ROSTERMANIA moves. So there was a rumor going around that apparently he was trying to like sort out to join a new team after EWC, but whilst EWC was happening. So obviously that isn't a good thing. Some teams might get put off by that. The other rumor that Ben J made was like taking like drugs or something before one of the matches. That's bullshit though, we believe. There has been a lot of like pros and Ben J drama, to be honest, during this off season so far. I've seen some of that. Like I said though, I have kind of been out of the loop a bit. So some of the stuff I'm saying probably isn't 100% accurate, but I am trying my best. Um, Look, Envoy will obviously get onto a good team, and obviously Neptune, as we're talking about, obviously he had, except Hugh, I think had the best comeback here because no one expected Neptune to play like this. Like, it was actually crazy what he was doing. This one, though, wow. LA Thieves want to add Kenny to their roster after genuinely one of the worst stints I've ever seen from an Optic player in like stage 1 and stage 2 before the LAN, obviously because he got dropped for Optic. Yeah, he was amazing when Optic won champs in 2024. Let me make this clear. Kenny is an amazing player with a great CV, but how he played on Black Ops 6, I am very surprised that LA Thieves are bringing him into the team. Yeah, he's going to obviously be their in-game leader. He's going to be the one communicating. We understand this. But if he's dropping a point 0.3 in a game for a super team next year with Scrap and Hydra on it, he's going to get dropped instantly. I'm happy for Kenny though. I do like Kenny. I just think it was the right time for him. It obviously had to get dropped from Optic. It worked out in the end. Obviously, Skies didn't do anything. No intel on Skies, by the way, in ROSTERMANIA. I don't think he'll be on a team, or he'll be on a low tier team like Boston Breach potentially, or Ravens. Yeah, Kenny has to prove himself again as to why he is a three-time Call of Duty World Champion now. Sorry, he's a three-time champ. I think he's a three-time champ. He's won two in the CDL. He might just be a two-time champ. Honestly, I'm sorry, Kenny, if you're a three-time champ, and I've just said that you're a two-time champ. But yeah, it's an interesting one, that. But now we have to talk about possibly the biggest drama of the lot. This whole Real Koi Heretics thing is crazy. So we're gonna start with this bit. So obviously Real was a free agent. Real was a free agent going into this off season, but was expected to sign with Miami Heretics. Koi really wanted to sign him. They wanted him last year. They offered $60,000. Heretics declined the offer. So they ended up getting Joe DeSeves for free instead. That's obviously worked out. But they wanted Joe and Real together. Very strong on paper, right? Real, genuinely, if Optic hadn't won champs, if Optic hadn't actually won champs and they flopped at champs, I wanted Real in the roster. But obviously now I'm very happy with Optic keeping who they've got because I think they can. Oh, I don't expect what happened this year to happen next year, where they start playing like absolute shit and go 0-18 in map count. So, Koi wanted Real, even is it Mr. Ibu or something, like some like really big Spanish streamer with like over like millions of followers. He is part of Toronto. He's part of Koi. He tweeted Real, added him, and like this massive like fucking essay about why I should join Koi. Um, Uh, Gentlemates were also interested, according to some Spanish sources. Gentlemates were offering more money than Koi and Team Heretics, but Real was not interested in joining Gentlemates. It then sounded like Miami Heretics were going to acquire Real for another year. Uh, but we have to talk about this because this Heretics tweet has been deleted. This is where the drama starts, and this is where it finishes. So, apparently then, Koi made a huge offer for Real, which was 3 times the salary that he was on at Heretics last year. That's a lot of fucking money. Let's just say he was on like 50k last year, $50,000. He's going to get offered $150,000 then. Heretics tried to match it, and that's when people thought, oh, Heretics are going to be getting Real again. And apparently they had a verbal agreement, but Real has decided to go back to where he's originally going to go, and he's going to Koi next year. But we have to look at this. This is what Heretics tweeted. It's been deleted now. At 21:59 CET on August 9th, player Jose Real Castilla verbally accepted the conditions he himself had requested to renew his contract with Heretics. In esports, verbal agreements are a common practice and traditionally are respected by agents, players, and teams. Just a few hours later, while we were working on drafting the contract, rumours began to circulate on social media, claiming that the player and his agent had signed with another organisation. So far, and despite our instance, neither the player nor the agent have confirmed the breach of this verbal agreement, although we understand from third-party statements that he's already signed with another team. We want to express our full understanding of a player's decision to change teams. However, we strongly reject the breach of verbal agreements as it damages the trust and respect that we should prevail in our industry. To our community, we reaffirm our commitment to continue the project that started in 2023 and our firm determination to keep working for and with the Spanish-speaking Call of Duty community. Well, I want to just say on that, verbal agreements mean nothing in anything anymore, so that's all I've got to say on that. But then Real comes out with a statement saying that he claims that Heretics forced his teammates to take pay cuts in return for him to rejoin the team next year. Heretics owner Giorgio has confirmed that these claims are false. Totally false. No one has been asked to take a pay cut. In fact, everyone has offers for contract renewals with increases, so raises. Completely respectful if you change clubs, unacceptable that you lie and break a verbal agreement. Well, that's pretty much the end of this whole situation, but this is crazy. We've never seen anything like it. If we have an event in Spain and they let Real talk, I think the crowd's going to go crazy. But yeah, Real is going to be with Kleenex and Joe Deceives. Very nice team. Joe Deceives, Kleenex will play flex like he did at EWC. They need a new AR. Insight is a free agent. Insight and Kleenex will no longer be a team. Now, we're going to talk Draza because he is on the verge of returning to FaZe. So he was an unrestricted free agent. It looks like he's going to be back on the team with Simp and then O4 and ABEZY. So that is the new look FaZe for 2026 season. Obviously, it's not as good as their old team, but I think that they'll still be a very good contender. It might just take a couple of weeks for it to actually start to work, though, in my opinion. But I think it'll be good to see. Rencourt also here does actually come out and support his teammate Real because a lot of Heretics fans are giving him a lot of stick, and that's nice of Rencourt. Now we're going to talk about Vancouver Surge because this is a very disappointing one. Rambo Ray's gone as well. The whole team is departed on free agency. This is disappointing because Vancouver Surge had an amazing year as an organisation. Yeah, they didn't win anything, but they got to 5 grand finals. Their players made a lot of money. They became a top team in the league. But by the way, I've just realised when I said about Vancouver Surge's grand finals, it was Major 2, Major 3 because they got top 12 at Major 4. They are going to be replacing. They're going to build the team. It's not even it's an easy one to build because it's already the same roster on a different team. But they are going to be basically acquiring the Omit team that won Challengers Champs, that beat FaZe at EWC as well. They knocked them out in pool play. I think that Surge as an organisation should have personally been going for a higher caliber players, but I think all these Ormit players played well as a team last year. They obviously won Challengers Champs. They did okay at EWC. Let's see how they do in the league, but I'm not expecting a big year out of Surge, which is a shame because I think they could have really capitalised on what they did last year. Cloud9, everyone's a free agent for Cloud9. Kremp, Sib, Spark, Gwyn, and obviously Accuracy as well. Cloud9 had a very rough year. Very rough. This was not the year they were expecting, but it happened. Didn't make champs, out of pool play in EWC. Sib had good games but disappointing. The team just didn't work. I actually am interested. I think Cloud9 might have an underrated off season. Now they're not going to be getting elite players, but I think they could have. I think Gwyn will be back. That's my prediction. I think Gwyn will be back on this team. But let's just see what happens. Here is. I was right about Envoy and Neptune. Gentlemates have got a very nice roster for 2026. I like this. Ghosty, Sib, Neptune, and Envoy. A very nice roster for Gentlemates. I think this is going to be a good year for Gentlemates. I expect them to, genuinely, with that roster, I expect them to be getting to at least Championship Sunday a couple of times next year. Very nice team here. I like the Ghosty and Sib duo. Neptune for me, was the second best SMG in regular season last year, behind Hydra, sorry. Envoy, I think this is an important year for him. I think this roster looks good. Genuinely, I'm intrigued to see how this roster does perform though in an actual game. But on paper, very very nice. There are some really nice rosters so far this year. Also, I actually didn't mention it, but obviously Envoy's replacement on Thieves is set to be ABEZY. I actually forgot to actually include that. So yeah, ABEZY is going to be joining the LA Thieves team. He's an upgrade on Envoy. Um, So let's see how that works out. I think Thieves are going to be better next year. I think because the how they played at Champs and EWC was crazy, crazy bad. So we'll have to see what happens. Heretics then obviously do confirm the departure of REEAL after 2 years with the team, and that's him done. So the final piece of intel that we've got is Falcons now going for Kismet after missing out on Sib and Ghosty. They tried to get Sib and Ghosty. They're going to be playing for Gentlemates together. So it's going to be Kismet on the Falcons. I don't know if he's going to be the AR or if it's going to be Exnid. So it's going to be CELLIUM, Kismet, Pred, and Exnid. And yeah, CELLIUM is going to be in for a different year than he's probably ever had in this EDL. But I think Kismet had good games last year for Gentlemates, but they were just rubbish. Like, they were just bad. So, that is pretty much all the ROSTERMANIA roundup we've had. We've also had the fan awards and the end of year awards, stuff like that, on Breaking Point. But this is just ROSTERMANIA. So, the next episode will probably be whenever. I'm not going to set a date, because it could be a month. I expect it to be at least a month. Now, to be honest. I just think it's been quiet for a couple of weeks. That Kismet stuff was the last stuff, and that's from last week basically. Because the lower bracket teams, like Optics rosters locked, the FaZe one's pretty much done, the Thieves one's done, the Falcons one, the Gentlemates one, the Surge one. But then you've got the lower teams like your Boston Breach, your Ravens, let's just say Cloud9, in this instance your Rocker. They're gonna obviously take a bit of time to find the best players that they can get for the best salaries and the best value. So yeah, I think that's kind of what we'll be waiting for now. I would say that the next episode will probably be in about a month and a half now, honestly. Um, but when we get back to it, the CDL 2026 season, I can't wait for it. I'm looking forward to it. Hoping that we get 5 majors, Champ CWC, or some sort of Pro-Am as well, where some of the Challengers teams get to play in the main league, like they did at Modern Warfare 2 first event. let's just see what happens. But that's going to be the end of this episode. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and see you next time. Like the video as well. But bye for now. Cheers for watching.